Alright, so the Elden Ring Shadow of the Earth 3 DLC hype is on peak now, as it's been less than a month in release of Elden Ring DLC, and this has been further increased by the recent story trailer released by Bandai Namco, which we broke down completely in our previous video, sharing the possibilities, information, and made some educated speculations and brought up some alternate thoughts as well. But right now, new information and material is being shared almost every day by the Elden Ring official channels. So let's get into the newest things and break them down as well in this video. So the picture of this NPC is recently shared by the Elden Ring Twitter account. Now the most popular current view on this NPC is that it's the narrator of the storyteller and probably the NPC which will tell us to enter into the Shadow Realms through Miquella's hand in Morgwind Palace. Well, this can be right, but I think this NPC is much more important. I think this can be Miquella himself. Since we all know that Miquella has sacrificed his flesh and body, there are chances that he is taking the form of this NPC, leading everyone in the Shadow Realms. As this concept is not new in the Elden Ring, Ranni, Malenia, and Sellen, they all have done this before. Additionally, there are some details that might hint us to the identity of this NPC as Miquella. Firstly, the hairs of this NPC resembles very much to Miquella's hair, especially the braid. Next, if you look at the cloak of this NPC, you will see the sigil and the flowers at the edge of the cloak that resemble somewhat to Queen Marika. Also, if you notice, the cloak is worn over the armor, which may suggest royalty. Furthermore, you can see Trina lilies in some places in the armor, as we can make quite a guess looking at the weapon. It clearly looks like a holy weapon as well. Lastly, everything is golden. Now this is my personal view, which can be wrong, but still I believe there are possibilities that this NPC is Miquella himself. Next, let's talk about the identities of the group of these NPCs. Now, if you look at these NPCs, there are 7 in total, and these NPCs are being shown to us over and over again in both the gameplay and story trailer, suggesting their importance in the DLC. Now, if you remember from the base game, there are 7 Wandering Mausoleums, which have 7 corpses of the demigods, who are basically the unwanted children of Marika, as told to us by this commoner near Wandering Mausoleum in the Weeping Peninsula. To go further in details, if you look at the description of the Eclipse Crest Heater Shield, it says, the sun in the eclipse is said to be the symbol of Wandering Mausoleum where the soulless demigods slumber. Another item, Eclipse Crest Great Shield description, tell us that the eclipse sun, drained of color, is the protective star of soulless demigods. It aids the Mausoleum Knights by keeping the destined death at bay. But now the question is, why are the Mausoleums trying to do that? This could be because the demigods aren't actually dead. Remember, they are soulless, not dead. The same word was also used for the Godwin who was killed by the Black Knife assassins. So these demigods might be alive in some way, and that's why it is important to keep destined death away from them to prevent them from dying completely. Once we understand this, then we need to know who made these mausoleums and why. For this, if you remember, the ghost in the Castle Soul says, "O great sun, frigid son of soul, surrender yourself to the eclipse, grant life to the soulless bonds." Now, another ghost at the roof of the Castle Soul says, "Lord Miquella, forgive me, the sun has not been swallowed, our prayers are lacking, your comrade remains soulless, I will never set my eyes upon it now." This suggests that the people at Castle Soul are working for Miquella. They were probably trying to create the sun eclipse, and through which life will be granted to the soulless bonds and of course the soulless demigods. So I think it is possible that Miquella was trying to bring these demigods back to life, including himself, in which he succeeded, and now all these demigods under his leadership are in the Shadow Realms probably fighting for their rights, or maybe trying to free Miquella from imprisonment of Messmer, or from imprisonment which Miquella put himself in. After all, if you see at this NPC who is making Miquella's rune gesture is wearing a prisoner's helm. Now after all this, another mystery appears to solve. Why defeating Radhan is necessary for playing DLC? Now the answer to this is probably because he was the conqueror of the stars, and as we know, sun is also a star. So by defeating Radhan, we might have made the eclipse needed for reincarnation of the Miquella and other soulless demigods. Now obviously all of this is a speculation at the moment, but we will definitely get the answers soon in the DLC. Now let's check out this fearsome foe shared by official Elden Ring account. Now some people were very quick to call this as Godwin because of his posture, which resembles to Godwin. But this surely isn't Godwin. The reason I believe this is not Godwin is because look at the horns, which are signs of omens. But interestingly, if you look closely, the right eye of this NPC is probably defective, as can be seen by the hairs coming out of the eye socket of the mask. If you remember, I made a video on this topic few months back where I showed most of the royals in Elden Ring have a defective eye. This gives me the impression that this foe is also no less than a royal. Unfortunately, it is not yet clear who this might be. Next, I would like to share a couple of things about the Grace and Miquella's Rune. Now, first we thought that Miquella's Rune would serve as a grace point in Shadow Realms, but as can be seen in the recently shared picture by Elden Ring X account, we can see there is a small grace point which points that we will have grace points in the Shadow Realm as well. Which brings us to the question, then what are these Miquella runes for? Well, I think these might be places where we can hear the echoes or know the history or stories told by Miquella, just similar to the base game where Melina used to tell us about the echoes of Queen Marika. Furthermore, if you notice, there is this interesting appearance of Miquella's rune. It seems like that it has been impaled, which again makes more sense that these spots can be storytellers or upgrading stations. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you liked the video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to watch more Elden Ring related content. Thank you for watching and have a very nice day.